very much. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Date is the 20th of December 2022. Thank all councillors for attending here today and also guests here arriving today. I'd like to, first of all, in the event of an emergency, the building may be evacuated. You'll be required to vacate the building by the rear entrance and gather at the breezeway between the library and art gallery buildings. This is a council designated emergency muster point. Under no circumstances is anyone permitted to re-enter the building until that all clear has been given and the area deemed safe by authorised personnel. In the event of an evacuation, a member of the council staff will assist any member of the public with a disability to vacate the building. 1.1, apologies in absent. Thank you, Chief Officer.
Mr. Chair, we have apologies from the Mayor, Councillor Hamling, and also apologies from Councillor Duffy for lateness.
Wonderful. Could I have a move on those, please? Thank you, Councillor Evans, and a seconder. Thank you, Mr. Mallard. Councillor Mallard. All in favour? Wonderful. Thank you very much. All agreed. Moved on. Okay. So the recommendation is accepted by Jason. We need to record the names for and against, which is done. Recognise that we will need to record names for and against. The council meeting is being live streamed. That's 1.2, and recorded by the council at the council meeting. You agreed to be live streamed and recorded. Please ensure that if when you speak at this council meeting, that you ensure you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Orange City Council accept no liability for any defamation or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this council meeting. A recording of this council meeting will be made by administrative purposes. We'll go to 1.3. I'd like to acknowledge that we are gathering on the amazing country of the Wiradjuri people who have been custodians of this land for over 40,000 years. I wish to pay my respect to elders past, present, and also upcoming, and extend that to other Indigenous people that may be here today, and welcome all other people here today. 1.4, in relation to the upcoming minutes, declaration of interest. Does any council wish to declare any conflict of interest in a matter concerning the meeting today? That is so good. That's the first time, I think.
That's a rarity.
Okay, we do have late items meeting. Council, there are 3 late items before you. We need to resolve a resolution to permit them to be heard at this meeting. So items are 4.1, which is the notice of motion, time removal of usage, tree usage. Do you want to go for one at a time, or do
Just read them out, Deputy.
Yeah, and 5.6, consultation on review of the Local Government Boundaries Commission, and 5.7, council leave. If anybody's got any say against those,
Hoover and a second.
Move that or
Happy to
second.
move.
Thank you, Councillor Donald and Greenhouse. Yeah. Thank you. All in agreement? All agreed? Very much. Okay. We have not received any registrations for speakers, so we'll move forward to point 2, which is the Merrill minutes. Due to the Mayor not being here tonight, and I'm standing in for him, I'd like to just take the privilege of actually just sharing a few things in relation, especially since this is our last meeting for the year. An exciting journey as a new councillor, spending 12 months, or literally 12 months, in the chamber, and yeah, there's so many wonderful things that I think that we as a new council, and then also with the 4 elected ones that have been here for some time now, we've achieved some amazing stuff. And some of the stuff that I just want to quickly reiterate is that the expression of interest in the multi-level car park is actually going up today, which is really good. And just something that, I know that Lord's Place has been taken a bit of a aspect of community interest, but we're looking at launching that and getting contractors in for that. There's so many wonderful things that I think that we as councillors over the past 12 months have achieved. And even today, seeking the expression of interest in the construction of the conservatorium too, which is another wonderful opportunity for 2023 coming up. I'd also like to thank the Mayor. He's really led us well in relation to where we are today. He called me many times, and since this is the reason for celebration and this wonderful chambers to be decorated in such manner for the last meeting of 2023, I would wish to thank him for his work, bringing us together and guiding us over these last 12 months. And we look forward to him returning. So on that note, thank you very much. That's just something that I'd just like to add in relation to the mayoral minutes for that. Okay, we'll move on to point 3, the confirmation of minutes of previous minutes. Okay, we'll need to record the names for and against. So, do you want to move those minutes? Thank you, Mr. Lloyd. So, and thank you, Mrs. Francis Kinghorn. Thank you very much. Okay, all for and against on that there? Anything coming from those? Any speakers in those minutes? All good, carried. Thank you very much. Moving on. Okay, we got a presentation now.
That's correct. And Deputy Mayor, if I could introduce Manuel from the New South Wales Audit Office, who has toiled hard with our CFO, Veronica, over the last few months and come to a conclusion on our books for the last financial year. So over to you, Manuel. I don't know how much time you need, but please, if you could give your presentation now, that would be great. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much, and good evening, Chair, councillors, management, and all those present. I thank you for the opportunity to speak to the results of the 30 June 2022 financial statement audit of Orange City Council. As mentioned, my name is Manuel Moncada. I am the audit leader from the Audit Office of New South Wales, responsible for managing this year's audit, working under Chris Harper, the Director of Financial Audit, who signed the opinions and reports included in, I believe, the package. I am happy to report to Council this evening that with the continued cooperation from management and at the conclusion of the audit, Chris Harper was able to issue unqualified or clean audit opinions on the 30th of November. Whilst this is outside of the Office of Local Government's 31st October deadline, Council preemptively sought and received an exemption to submit its financial statements by 30th of November, and we were able to meet that deadline, that revised deadline. The reason for the extension was largely to enable Council to have sufficient time to work through a few fair value assessments. In addition to independent auditors' reports on the general purpose financial statements, we also issued unqualified or clean audit opinions in relation to Council's special purpose financial statements, the special schedule permissible income for general rates, local roads and community infrastructure program, and earlier Council's roads to recovery program and application for payment of pensioner concession subsidy. Overall, all were unqualified and a positive outcome. This year, our audit has had a greater focus on Council's asset base, as we've seen increases in asset values across the local government sector and indeed in other industries, largely driven by increased construction costs. And these increases are notable in Council's financial statements, where following completion of Council's fair value assessments and revaluations, as required by the Australian Accounting Standards, Council recognised a $90 million increase in the value of its infrastructure, property, plant and equipment. If I could just move on to the report on the conduct of audit, which I believe is on page 85 of the pack that I believe you might have a hard copy. I will take the report as read, but draw your attention to just a few key items. The first section highlights 3 audit issues we deem to be significant. I won't go through a lot of detail. Suffice to say that we are intending to provide a management letter to management on those, which will provide recommendations, and these were also outlined in the closing report. The first point really is just on the annual fair value assessments, just the timing of it. And the second is around the review of manual journals. As council may be aware, manual journals are a way in which financial reporting figures can be changed, and it can be an easy way to circumvent other controls, particularly if there's no review. And the last one really is around we continue to report areas for improvement in council's IT control environment, particularly important with increased risks of cybersecurity attacks across all industries at the moment. I would like to just comment and wrap that part up by saying that management has agreed in principle to take action. I believe they may have already taken action to some of those points, and we'll follow that up as part of next year's audit. In terms of council's performance this year, council's overall results are a 3.1% increase in its rates and annual charges, but also saw a reduction in its grants and contributions revenue by 32.6%. Largely due to a reduction in newly funded projects and higher funding provided in the prior year. Pleasing for council, its net operating result increased by $6.2 million in 2021 to $9.8 million in 2022. On the cash flow, council's cash position also increased by $2.9 million to $30.8 million. And when council considers both its current and non-current cash and investments combined, it increased by $29 million on last year. Just moving down to a few pages down on the performance measures. When compared to the benchmarks that are set out by the Office of Local Government, council met all but one performance benchmark, being that rates and outstanding percentage. Council's outstanding rate was 10.7% compared to the industry benchmark of 10%. As we've noted in the report, this is due in part to council not recommencing its debt recovery processes for rate debtors until September of this year. But overall, I think it's a positive outcome to have met all but one. I'll comment on one of the other measures, just the council's debt service cover ratio, which was 5 compared to the benchmark of 2. And another way to think of that is for every $1 council had in debt, it had $5 to cover it. I would just like to wrap up by taking the opportunity to thank management, and in particular the Chief Financial Officer, Veronica Webb, and her team for the support provided to the audit team throughout the engagement. And I'm more than happy to take any questions from councillors or management. Thank you.
Thanks, Manuel.
Thank you.
Question, Mr. Chair, if I may, to
Yes.
Manuel.
Yes,
Through you.
yes, Mr. Council.
Thanks, Manuel, for the report. Just with regard to the cybersecurity component, in the corporation or in the corporate world, the owners of the risk in the cybersecurity world are the company directors. What is the exposure to councillors in the same form? Is there a policy under the Local Government Act that sort of situates councillors in the same position as company directors from an exposure with cybersecurity?
Thank you for your question. Unfortunately, I'm not fully familiar with the Office of Local Government's policies. However, I can only comment that currently council does not have its own policy. It may be possible that council could leverage from a policy that exists at the Office of Local Government.
Thank you for your answer.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Could we have a mover on those on that report, please? Yeah, sorry, Councillor Peterson. Yeah, and second by Councillor Jeff Whitten. All in favour? Thank you. Unanimous, approved. Thank you.
Manuel, thank you very much. Have a great Christmas. Thanks on behalf of staff for working so well with us.
Thank you very much, and good evening to all of you.
Merry Christmas.
Mr. Chair, would you indulge me for 30 seconds?
Absolutely.
To just thank our CFO who came on board in you know, in a period where we hadn't had a CFO for some time, took on the yearly accounts and has just done a sterling job to put that team together and get these done. So I'd really like to commend her. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Well, thank you. Okay, moving on. We have now the point 4, notice of motions of recession. 4.1, late items, time removal of usage, tree usage. Could we have a move on that there, please? A mover, please. Yep, and a seconder. Councillor Floyd and Councillor Peterson. Any speakers on this motion? Thank you, Mr. Malalo.
Thanks, Moto.
Leto.
Just with regards to the notice of motion, I'm just into the first point. I just assumed was an operational matter, and number 2, with regards to the wood, which is required for a men's shed, how that would be costed. Who would pay to deliver the wood from site to the men's shed? How would that occur?
Maunder's taking these questions,
Yes.
Chair.
Thank you, Mr.
Chair, ordinarily when we do this on occasion, sorry, the flags are in the road. Ordinarily when we do this on occasion, the organisation collecting the wood make their own arrangements for doing so and bear any costs.
So can I assume that they would collect their wood and before the site was cleaned and council will then clean up all the debris which is left over?
Yeah, well, either that or we would place the barrels to one side, clean up the site, and then they're just removed from site when they can.
Thank you. And just regards to point A, I'm assuming that would be an operational matter in the first place where council staff would be looking at those parks for any type of risk anyway. My understanding.
That's correct, councillor.
So do we need point 1 or can we just go on point 2? So I guess I'll put it to, I could make an amendment to the motion that number 1 gets withdrawn and we just go for number 2 because number 1's already an operational issue. Providing the Councillor Floyd agrees to that.
I've got no problems with that. Number 1 was only put in just because that's what I was talking about on the day with concerned people. So that's just why I put number 1 in. But I've got no problems with that just going for number 2 only.
So that's a move on the amendments. Comes the motion now. Yep. Cool. Okay. All agree on that motion now, which is amended up there. Oh, sorry. Oh.
Sorry, yeah, I just wanted to ask a question through you, Mr. Chair, and that relates as part 2 or the motion now talks about utilisation of dead and fallen trees. I wanted to ask about native trees in particular, thinking about like the gum tree up near the roundabout. What do we do in terms of considering being able to retain that in some way and use it as habitat, particularly in terms of nesting hollows that are crucial for a whole lot of threatened species? Do we assess capacity to retain those trees, whether at the site or relocating them somewhere else?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, we do. We do that in the first instance, see whether they're of any use for use as you've outlined or others before it's made available. Sometimes the quality or the nature of it isn't suitable for other use. You will have seen examples across the city of where we've utilised large trees as natural habitat.
Thanks, Mr. Maunder. Yeah, in that case, yeah, I'm happy to support the motion, and yeah, I just think that's a really important part of what we need to be looking at in terms of utilising the trees. I know in approving DAs in this year of council, we've been putting requirements when trees have been cleared to require that native veg to end up in wetlands or elsewhere to continue providing that important nesting habitat.
Any other speakers on the motion? Thank you, Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is to you to the CEO as regards to the wood wood pile that the council moved a resolution some years ago, is that still operational?
The wood bank.
The wood bank,
But yes, it is. It is.
It is.
And we put it in last year's budget too. So yeah, so far,
so
and it'll
still
come up again.
operational.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it will
okay,
come up
thank
again in the budget. Yes.
Any further discussions on motion? Okay. So we all in agreement. So can we have a mover? Sorry, all vote on it there. All in agreement.
Are we voting on the motion or the amendment first?
The amendment was actually voted on, and now we're moving on the amendments. Thank you, Mr. Malato. Thank you. Cool. All in agreement? Yep. Against? Pass. Thank you very much. Beautiful. So we'll move on to the general reports, which is 5.1.
So is it 5.6? It's okay.
Doing 5.1 first.
Late item, yeah, that's
Just 1 second. I'll just get myself all organised here. So 5.1, the recommendation of resolution of the...
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
policy.
I'm happy to move the recommendation, but leaving out number 5.
Please first. Please, Mr. Duffy. Thank you, Mr. Floyd.
I'm happy to move all of them except for dot point 5, which we deal with separately.
So 0.5. Okay. We have a seconder on that there for 0.52 place. In what manner?
So I might ask Councillor Duffy to explain what he wants to do. Do you want to discuss 5 separately, do you?
Yeah, separately, yeah. That's right. Move the recommendation except for dot point 5, which we'll deal with separately.
Okay, cool.
Right. So
Yeah, what we're doing now is, so we're on agreement that we agree to 0.1, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 7, and then we'll discuss 0.5. Is that correct, Mr. Duffy?
No, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 7.
what he said, Councillor Duffy. He's going to put those and discuss 5 separately.
5 separately.
So we're putting forward the motion to accept 0.1, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 7. Any discussion on those 3? Okay. Will we have a move on that there, please, for 1, 2. Thank you, Mr. Malato.
Voting councillors, show of hands, please.
Of hands. Thank you.
Unanimous. Yep.
All moved. Thank you very much. So that's all motion move. We'll move to, and we'll hand over to Mr. Duffy, according to 0.5, to discuss the minutes of the Environment Sustainable Policy Committee. You want to discuss that one there?
Moving dot point 5.
I'm happy to move dot point 5.
You're going to move 0.5? Okay. We have a move on 0.5. Can we have a second on 0.5, please? That is the minutes of the Environment Sustainable Policy Committee.
Give me a second. Yep.
Allowed. Okay. Councillor
Chairman, I'd
Duffy.
like to speak against the motion.
Sorry, Councillor Duffy.
I'd like to speak against the motion.
Yes, you can speak against the motion,
The
sir.
dot point 5.
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I've read the minutes there, and to me, the minutes don't just project what actually happened on the night. They seem to be a little bit contrary to the Office of Local Government or the Local Government Act as well. I think it's very dangerous to go down that pathway.
Okay. Any other speakers on that?
Sorry, could I
Point
just...
of order. Yeah, point of order. I just like more information about what Councillor Duffy's referring to because I'm a bit confused what he's actually saying. If I'm going to support either motion, I just need a bit more information if possible, that's all, to understand it rather than it doesn't comply. If it doesn't comply, in what areas doesn't it comply? For you, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. Are we able to get any more clarity on that there before I hand it to Councillor McDonald? Did you wish to?
I mean, if you want clarity from me, I mean, it's what actually happened on the night. The CEO doesn't have the power to call an adjournment. He doesn't have that power. And now we're going against the actual act, what is concerned. I want to go down that pathway. I just want to register my vote against that later on because there's other issues to be dealt with as well. But I mean, that's up to the councillors to decide.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, if I may, would you mind if I just said something there?
Yes,
I'm
Mr.
just
CEO.
also slightly confused, and I think council would be far better off just putting this to the vote and moving on. I'm not seeing the relevance of this. Because these minutes are for noting. I'm just giving advice on procedure. Should put them.
Thank you. Councillor
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I suppose just to clarify, I suppose I don't know whether it needs to be amended in there, but I actually I requested the adjournment. And it wasn't requested by the CEO.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Councillor Mallard.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, I was the one who called the adjournment as the chair of the meeting. I took advice from the CEO, but I was the one who declared the meeting adjourning.
You can adjust the minutes to suit that.
Yeah. So is everybody happy that we adjust the minutes to suit that in relation to the event that actually happened, according to the two councillors here?
As I advised, Mr. Chairman, I'm voting against it.
Yeah. Okay. We'll move the motion. We'll adjust the minutes for point 5 of the Environment and Sustainable Policy Committee meeting that was held on the 6th of December. On the grants one.
With those
Those
adjustments.
changes. Yeah.
Changes, Mr.
With those changes, so yeah. All in agreement with those changes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 against, and 3 against. Sorry, I've got my counting wrong on that.
And yourself.
Myself too. I'll go for
8-3, thank you.
Yeah. So that is carried. So thank you very much. Thank you. Moving on now to 5.2, which is the statement of investments.
Happy to move the motion.
Thank you, Councillor. And seconder, please. Statement of investments. Thank you. That's the Councillor Floyd. Okay. Any speakers on this thing? Yes, Councillor
Just me.
Kinghorn.
I'd just like to thank the CFO who's come and seen me before the meeting to tell me that my usual question that she's preempted, that they are taking steps to change the investments, and by February a lot more of the money should be in higher earning investments than what they are in at the moment. So thanks.
Very much. Okay. We'll move on that one there. So we'll move on that there. And so all in the grants? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, we now move on to 5.3, page 51, which is the Code of Conduct Complaint Report on 2021-22. Have a mover on that there, please?
Happy to move that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Donnell and Mallard. Any speakers on this motion? Thank you.
I want a clarification through you, Mr. Chair, to the CEO. It says here staff costs, so there's no visitors cost at all?
That's correct. That's an accurate number. Right. We dealt with it without going to external parties to assist.
Yep.
Wonderful. Any other speakers on that? Yes, Councillor Peterson.
Just a question from a new councillor, I suppose. What does this actual report mean for you, Mr. Chair? I mean, is there anything that requires action on our part, or was it just being noted for us to note and there's no other involvement for councillors in any way?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's really just a noting. 10 is a number. Some councils have 50, some have 2. It's really for noting tonight.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? Okay. We'll put it to a vote. All for? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, we move on to 5.4, strategic policy post-exhibition adoption. That's from page 53.
recommendations.
Yes, Councillor Whitten.
Happy to second that, Mr. Chair.
This Councillor McDonald. Okay. Any speakers on this motion?
But,
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Whitten.
Great document. And there's a few the owner is on our CEO. I see there that the CEO is accountable for cybersecurity. I really like that part. I don't think he's aware. He probably hasn't read it.
I can talk to this.
Yeah, but certainly topical at the moment, and it's and a lot of work to be done, and I'm sure this who's carrying the risk.
Thank you, Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Councillor Whitten. Councillor Peterson.
Yeah, I just had a question, probably through you, Mr. Chair, on STO4, the councillor interaction with staff. In point 6.3, it says that we should be contacting the relevant staff only in business hours. Emails actually occur after hours. So I wanted to make a note of that, or ask if we should do something like the CEO and have a little bit of a disclaimer underneath our emails that if we contact after hours, it doesn't mean we're expecting staff to action them after hours.
Director Rob's up on screen. You heard that one? It's a good point, actually, because staff would tend to react to councillors' emails with some seriousness. We'll take that on board for sure, I think. That's a yes.
Yes.
Yes, sorry. Through you, Mr. Chair. Absolutely, we'll take that on board.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's taken on board. So thank you. It's taken a notice. Awesome. Any other speakers to the motion? Okay, we'll put the motion to the vote, please. All in favour? All against? Move carried. Thank you very much. Wonderful. Okay, now we've got strategic policy review on page 55, please. Can I move on that one there, please?
Happy to move that, Mr. Chair.
Lloyd and Councillor Greenhow. Any speakers on this motion, please? Yes, Councillor Peterson.
Thank you. For you, Mr. Chair, with the ST21 child safe, can't remember because it's been a long year. Do councillors have to have a working with children's check? And if not, should we, just to reduce the risk of reputational risk by not having it?
Director Rob, can you answer that one, please?
Yeah, yes, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Peterson, and through you, Mr. Mayor. My understanding at this stage is that councillors are not obligated to have a safety, child safety working with children's check. It's only actually mandated for staff who work in the organisation directly with children. That's my understanding, but we can also just double check that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other speakers on that motion? Okay, can I have a move on the to all in favour? Against, none against, all carried. Thank you very much. Sorry, just
5.6.
We'll move on to 5.6 with the late item with consultation of review of Local Government Boundaries Commission. The council determines whether to make a submission to the Local Government Boundaries Commission, and if so, determines on what aspects of it. Yes,
yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to move the resolution. I want to take away, and if so, determine what aspects. I think the CEO has been around long enough to understand what the issues are with regards to boundary adjustments and all those type of things there. I know I'll be making a issue myself personally, because I know I sat in this room, as did a number of other councillors. The Balalara was Deputy Premier, and he pulled the pin on the court case, whatever was here, and he said to us firmly that he would be back to do a boundary adjustment, and I don't think we've seen him this side of the mountain since.
Not in government anymore.
But also, I know that the previous mayor and John Davis and Councillor Hamling, who's the mayor now, gave an undertaking that he would be back as well. So I think, and there was a submission made by the required number of people to have the investigation, but it was cobwashed. I think that needs to be raised again, but I'm going to raise that personally, and I think we really should move down that pathway because everything on the eastern side here, their community of interest is orange. Looking over, you're looking at, you look at the mountain and all those type of things there, it is orange. People coming to Orange. Yeah, believe it or not, their community of interest is Forbes, Stubbo and things like that. So that's not, I'm not in supporting amalgamation, what I'm talking about supporting.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Grandon.
Can I just have a point of clarification? On page 11, it says submissions are due by 5 p.m. on the 16th of December 2022. So I'm just wondering why this is coming before us now.
Sorry, and apologies for that. We've got an extension for us, so we've got a bit of time now.
Well, thank
plenty
you.
Of time. Well, the 10th or something. I've got plenty of time. I would say, Mr. Chair, I kind of need a majority view if we're going to talk about amalgamations and things.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll just write a very bureaucratic one.
Yeah. Councillor Evans, sorry, and Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I assume that the motion at the minute is to write a submission. If we were going to do that, I think we should consider Spring Hill. I'd like to know the other councillors' views from that community committee. That particular community has 3 council boundaries going through that community. So I wonder if we should put our heads together. I don't know, it's a struggle between now and January 10th and find out if there are any adjustments that can be made and to what benefit, and find out what the other adjacent councils think as well. That's just my 2 cents anyway. Thank you.
I just need to, I'll second the motion as Mr. Duffy has things, so we can move forward on that there in relation to discussion.
Just
Yes,
as a point
Mr.
of
Duffy.
clarification, Mr. Chairman, I'm quite happy to give the submission that was done by a group to the CEO. I think he may already have one from years gone by. So, and it addresses the issue of Spring Hill, Lewis Ponds, Boronor, Mayan Creek and all those type of issues there. And I think the biggest mistake that the government made of the day was not doing things on community of interest instead of they doing it on dollars and financial liability, because there's not a council in New South Wales that's really sustainable because they all rely on government grants.
So Councillor Duffy raises quite a good point here. This is a review of the process they go through rather than the actual result per se.
Yeah.
So it's the process things I'm interested in. I'll get Cabon's submission, if you like, which goes in tomorrow, and share that if you like, if that's useful.
Yes, Councillor King-on.
Yeah, so so I thought too it was about the actual, what the Boundaries Commission itself does. The things that I thought were relevant with my vast knowledge in this field is that obviously there should be a variety of technical skills. In that point, I think that's just a no-brainer. And the other bit that I thought was relevant was about the regional and the metro balance, because I probably wouldn't have thought of that normally, but there was such a big deal about it at the local government conference that I think we should make sure that the rural regional communities are represented well on this commission.
Yes, Councillor Malone.
Thanks, Mr. Deputy Mayor. In looking at the discussion paper, I wanted to suggest, I certainly think in terms of amalgamations, I'd be suggesting that community support needs to be the key thing to drive any issues there, and there needs to be clear assessment of that, and agree with Councillor Duffy's comments about communities of interest. I was also looking at the 11 factors that are considered on page 21 in our papers, and the questions that follow from that, so questions 4 to 8, and some of the things I think are important and would like to suggest that we consider in a submission are particularly the importance of diversity and the importance of proportional representation as part of the election system. So criterion 5 there, the requirement for appropriate elected representation for residents and ratepayers at the local level, I think needs, they need to assess the need to have an adequate number of councillors to provide the diversity that we want to see in local government. And I think that also goes to the question around the weighting. I think those issues and diversity and proportionality should be given more weight than Factor 9, which is about dividing the resulting area into wards. And I'm thinking of the example of, our proposed amalgamation was to leave an undivided council at least, but the Dubbo Regional Council outcome, which the community has now voted to walk back from, 5 wards with only 2 councillors per ward. So you have very limited diversity in each of those wards, and the end result being that, while the theory was to make sure Wellington had some representation, what you ended up with was 8 out of 10 councillors who had no responsibility to the electors of Wellington. So, yeah, they're the sorts of things that I think are quite important when thinking about the composition of a council, is that the number of councillors total and if it's being divided into wards, that you still need to have enough to ensure adequate diversity and proportional representation taking effect. Thanks.
Point of clarification,
Councillor Mileto.
Mr. Deputy Mayor. I guess it's through you to the CEO. Assuming that your letter is going to, your submission, just based on boundary adjustments, nothing else. Is that my understanding?
It'll be based on me analysing the methodology that they use in here, which is the Boundaries Commission, which is not mergers, I understand it. Oh no, it is amalgamations as well, isn't it? It is. No, it'll be all of the above, councillor. Amalgamations and boundary adjustments.
Just wondering, and I guess it's...
But I won't be saying Orange City Council, supports amalgamations.
Well, that was going to be my point, Mr. CEO, is I understand and respect your position, and I respect the fact that you are saying that you're not going to do that. I'm interested in what you are going to do. What are you going to say, and whether it's information which councillors should be privy to before the letter gets sent?
My word, I would think.
We're going to
a draft.
We'll be on leave during that period, won't we?
I mean, I'm taking notes here. I'm not hearing, and I'll be basing a submission. It won't be a very detailed submission.
Yeah.
The principles we've talked about so far, and none of them, I'll guarantee you, will see me writing Orange City Council supports amalgamations with our adjoining shires. I'll guarantee you that. This will be a process about things that Councillor Kinghorn said about representation on the commission, some of what Councillor Mallard said about process and weightings, and that's at the moment all I'm doing. Not hearing a strong majority view for me to write any sort of... We'll share it. Can't get to it. Other eyes will...
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I suppose also another sort of point of clarification or question on this. Given that this is our last meeting for the year and we're not now going to meet again until February, and we've got an extension to do this, I just feel like I feel like that we need a briefing or something. Like I feel like I haven't been given enough information to be able to go, okay, well, this is what I think we should be saying. I just feel like I don't have enough information to be able to contribute to it really at this stage.
Well, the information available is the printed information.
Yeah, I know, but it's nice to be able to sit down and have sort of one thing to read it here, but another to get the actual context from.
I guess what I was going to say, Chair, was that I don't have any staff who are experts in this field, so
okay.
we'll be doing our best.
Okay.
I could speak for the motion. Yeah, I think in years gone by, there's been discussed a lot, and one of the reasons the only reason that Orange would want boundary changes is because we're landlocked. The only reason we looked at boundary changes, right? Our neighbours want boundary changes because they want to hand off assets that are costing them money. That's where we've got to be careful, right? So they've got roads that they look after that are more closer to us. The community that live in those neighbouring councils want boundary changes because of a bunch of other reasons, rates or all other things. So there's three really elements for the reason that we would be looking at boundary changes, for the simple fact is that we want to grow the city boundary, but that comes with taking on other assets and cost. But it also gives us extra rateable income. That'd be the, I think, mention anything to do with probably not.
Yep.
Personal opinion.
Any other speakers on this? Okay, I'd just like to, Mr. CEO, what time frame was that extension?
It's to January the 10th.
Okay. Yep.
I will get raging opposition.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Just Councillor Duffy.
I just want to close the debate, that's all.
Sorry?
I want to close the debate.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Duffy.
Councillor just Duffy. Going back to the CEO, if I may, through you, Mr. Chair, is that we have quite a number of staff here, which we sort of, I don't know whether we pinched or whatever the case was, Mr. CEO. I don't know what happened, but I think they're fully aware of what the situation is around the area and what is going on. I remember being in the chamber with the former mayor of Dubbo, Alan Smith, and I said maybe Yeovil should go to you fellow, and he said no, we don't want it. He said we only get 40,000, and it costs us 800,000 to run the place. So and plus roads. There are some issues there, but the basis of our thing should be basically on community of interest. It was relayed to the previous government when they had a conference at Bathurst by nearly every mayor that actually attended.
Okay, we'll put it to vote, please. All in favour? Okay, all carried, all four. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Moving on to the last late notice, which is the council leave. I'd like to move this one here.
Better move it, Mr. Chairman.
I'll move it, please.
Okay.
And Councillor Duffy, you want to second that? Thank you very much. Any speakers on this? Okay, thank you, Councillor Kinghorn.
Yep, so I'm happy to support this, but I would just also like to publicly state that I think that Councillor Hamling has done a good job at being mayor, and I don't think he necessarily realises that. He's hardworking, he's really genuine, he's caring and he's kind, and I think that's exactly what we should have as mayor. So yeah. I'd just like to offer my support personally for
Thank you, Councillor Kinghorn, and I think it's definitely a positive vote from the council here today that we wish him the best, and yeah, looking forward to him to come back. On that note there, we'll put it to vote, please. All in favour? Against? Carried? Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll move on to point 6, which is the closed meeting. See close agenda. The Chief Executive Officer will advise the Council of any written submissions have been received relating to any items advertised for consideration by closed meetings of Orange City Council in accordance with the Local Government Act 19.
Written submissions have been received, Mr. Mayor, acting.
Thank you very much, Mr. CEO. Act 1993, the Local Government General Regulation 2005, an opinion of the Chief Executive Officer. The following business is of a kind of referred to Section 10A, point 2 of the Act, and should be dealt with confidential session of council meeting closed to the public, press and public. We'll just wait for. Could we have a mover on the close? Thank you.
Second it.
Okay, I'll say. Cool. The closed meeting items tonight is 6.1, evaluation of submission of net waste tender for process of garden, organic wood and timber. 6.2, the tender of Wade Park field lighting upgrade. Confidential classified under the provision section 10A2 and Local Government Act of 1993, which permits the meeting to be closed and the public of business relating to information that would, if disclosed, confer commercial advantage on a person with whom the council conduct business. Council need to proceed and a resolution to go into closed meetings. So a move of that, please. Thank you, Councillor Greenhouse. Thank you, Councillor Mudd.